What if the real reason your startup isn't scaling is because you're solving the wrong problem? In this episode of the Real SaaS Podcast, Jesse Burrell sits down with Jimmy Speyer, the founder of Glasshouse, a SaaS platform helping home service pros win more business through outbound sales. From walking away from a failed MVP to turning raw insight into real traction, Jimmy unpacks what it really takes to go from idea to product market fit, and why building your business baby might be the craziest, most rewarding thing you ever do. Welcome to the Real SaaS Podcast. Real talk with the builders behind the most innovative SaaS companies in PropTech and beyond. We dig into product market fit, team building, funding, failures, and the playbooks driving growth. No fluff, just raw insights on strategy, execution, and what's coming next. Now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Jesse Burrell. I am with Batch Service. I've done over $150 million in software sales over the last 6 years, and I am bringing on other huge, successful people inside the PropTech space, and I have a great guest today. Jimmy, what is going on, my guy? Thank you for being on.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
So, we're going to get into kind of behind the curtains, behind the scenes, how we tick. But before we get started, let us know a little bit about Glasshouse, your SaaS company, and tell me what we got going on.
Yeah, so I'm Jimmy Speyer. I'm the CEO and the founder of Glasshouse. We are a SaaS business in PropTech and home services specifically. So really our mission is we're going to help home service businesses find more of the right clients. That was like the big problem to solve. And so we have been on this for like a year and a half and work with almost 200 customers now, helping them identify the right buyers for their services and get in touch with them. A lot of details go into that. We're an outbound sales platform for home services, helping them drive revenue. So my background is in revenue for SaaS. So I was like, let's bring that to home services. Let's make it easy for them too.
So I've actually, the guests that I have in, I do deep dives kind of behind the scenes, and you have a very beefed up LinkedIn profile. So, what brought you from, it seems like you've worked for some really good companies. You've done CS, you've done, sales leadership. You've done quite a few things. Where alongside your journey did you get from, working and building, inside a business to going and doing this on your own? Or is this your first SaaS company? Have you done this before? Tell me a little bit more there. I'm super curious.
Yeah, so this is my first one to found. So I have been part of 3 other successful SaaS businesses. I always got there on day 2, day 3, whatever it is, right? So I would get there $1 million plus in revenue. And I helped scale 3 of those businesses to about $30 million of revenue. And we would do that really, really quickly. I would be like, one case, I was one of the first AEs, and I ran up to vice president, and then I was a VP of this and a VP of that. And I really enjoyed like hyper growth or really high growth experiences, but it was always somebody else's business. So that was, kudos on you, 150 million of SaaS sales. I know how hard that is. I've sold about 60 million of recurring revenue, so not quite the 100 million club there, but scaled those businesses pretty fast. And what I found along the way was I just kind of always had this feeling, especially after I had kids, was you really love your nieces and your nephews, right? Like if you have nieces and nephews, you really love them, but it's not the same as your kids. Like you just can't love them the same way you do your own children. And so I just kind of always had this nagging urge to do it from day one and have it be my kids. Same reason like I had kids after I had some nieces and nephews, I guess.
Yeah, if we're going to stick on that analogy, but you get a lot more frustrated with your kids than your nieces and nephews.
Because your nieces and nephews eventually go home, right? Like they're somebody else's problem at the end of the day. Like this one is, your kids are your problem at the end of the day. So your business, at the end of the day, there's no like just putting it away. It's always there. And so I really I've always fallen in love with my companies. I feel like I fall in love with the idea and the growth and the building it. But it's like, it was never really mine. And I really felt like I needed to have it be mine to really have the whole experience, the whole human experience of having the kids, the whole human experience of starting the business.
Yeah. So welcome to the Crazy Club. It's fun to be a part of, but man, I remember my first couple of years, starting on Batch, and I the best way I could explain it was, you're flying a plane as you're building it and trying not to crash it. There's a lot of things going on. It's really exciting. You know, the end of the journey is where people always want to get to so fast. Like, I wish I relished in those first couple of years a little bit more, because that's when the team is small. The team is a little bit grittier. It's fun. It's a brand new idea. Like, you're trying to scale it. There's not as many political things going on probably those first couple of years. It's just everyone has one vision, small team, go. And I wish I would have appreciated, not saying I don't appreciate and love the team that we have now and love building out the executive team. All that stuff has been fantastic. But those first few years when you first start it, those are special. And it's a feeling that I miss. And I look forward to finding that next thing too, post batch, which batch isn't going anywhere for a very long time, but I do miss that. And I hope that you've really enjoyed, having your first business child, and make sure to don't take it for granted, because the first couple of years I think are so special as you grow this business.
I agree, and I appreciate that, because when I decided I wanted to do this, I reached out to former CEOs I worked with and other executives I knew, and the consensus for most of the people who had done this before was, don't do this. Like, they're like, you shouldn't do this. Like, that was actually, there was quite a few people who told me not to do this. They didn't even know the idea. They're like, I don't care what your idea is. Just don't do it at all. It doesn't matter. And I feel like I come from a Jewish household. And so there's this, I don't know if it's really true or not, but they say if you go to a rabbi and say, I want to become Jewish, they're supposed to say no to you 3 times, right? Or you have to ask 3 times. Like, no, you have to come back. You have to show you really want it. And so I think that was kind of the same experience. Was I had to be told not to do this a bunch of times. But if everybody tells you not to and you still feel like you're compelled, like you have to, then you're probably ready to try.
I agree. It's a calling and an obsession and a problem that, like, you feel like you could solve better than anyone. And you've worked and had this, journey through your corporate life to lead you here. And it's just an itch that you have to itch, or else it's going to, 1, just drive you crazy. And 2, the people like us can't say what if, you just can't do it. You got to go do it. Fail or if you succeed. Like, I feel like certain people just have to go do something, and you're just, I feel like it's just, you're compelled. Like, I was compelled to start building software to help real estate investors get more deals. Like, that's a problem I wanted to solve, and that I learned inside flipping and wholesaling 500 houses. And I'm like, there's such a better way. Like, I have to go do this. And it was just, that was kind of my journey. And yours sounds similar as well, to where you came to a place and you're like, there's this huge need right here, and everything is changing on how software works. And I found something special that could help the home service space. And I know that you guys have had massive growth in these first 2 years, so you're apparently doing something very, very right.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It was a pull to want to do something, and that's when I do get an opportunity sometimes to talk to new entrepreneurs or people who are just starting a business, and we're real early in the journey as well, but they're a little even further ahead than that. And I hear them talk about, like, if you can hear it in their voice, are they really excited about what they're doing? Like, are they really excited about the idea? And I'll also back up one other thing, though, personally, is I don't come from home services. My background is not in home services. I didn't grow up in a trade or something like that. I came from B2B SaaS, running revenue teams, scaling hyper growth revenue teams. And so I found home services because I was looking for a place to do something. And as I got into it, you can fall in love with the place you find yourself if you go after things that meet the type of thing you want to fall in love with. And by that, I mean, like, home services wasn't my background. It's the place I looked at and said, ooh, that looks like a place I would want to be. Mm-hmm. The types of buyers, the types of businesses, SMB and mid-market. It's a huge TAM. It's in the real world. It touches real people. And I was like, okay, that's a place I want to be. I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to find problems, and then I'm going to figure out which ones I really get excited about solving. Versus, hey, I got this problem. I want to solve it. Now I'm already here in the first place. I'm like, no. You could go say, hey, I want to go help the trades. You could say, really, I'm really passionate about EMT and fire and police services. And, like, I'm going to get in there, and then I'm going to find the problem in there. that I want to solve versus I have this problem and I'm already in that place. So just kind of how I ended up here is not because it was my background, it's because it looked like a place that I would like to be. And then when I got in there, I realized there was specific background in my skills that drew me to a specific problem.
That's interesting because, yeah, a lot of the times it's someone solving a problem for an existing business. And you said, I have this skill set, I have this disruption or this idea of what I want to do. Where is the best place to go disrupt? And where would I want to play in? Right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. And then what I realized really quickly was I don't know a ton about this space. So how do I learn it as fast as I can? Right. So I bought a home service business actually along the way. So I am a customer of myself.
So now you are the customer.
Now
so
I am the customer.
Really...
How do I become the subject matter expert? I have to live this with them. Plus, who the hell is going to listen to some tech bro who's going to tell a bunch of home service businesses how to do whatever? Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, well, maybe I don't, but I'm willing to learn. So now I'm also in it with my customers too. If I feel a problem, they feel a problem. If they feel a pain, I'm having the same pain.
So you found a backwards way to do the exact same thing, I suppose, that a lot of other founders do. You started it differently and then you acquired a business and then now you're able to really, feel those pain points of gaps and solutions that haven't been solved in that space. So that's interesting. Let's hop into a couple questions. When and how fast were you able to get your, product market fit? Did you build out an MVP? How did you, I guess, bring Glasshouse from, where did it start? How long or how many employees did it take you to kind of get that product market fit? And then I guess my follow-up question to that was, SaaS is expensive. Did you raise any money or is this completely bootstrapped?
Those go together. So it took a year to get to what I would call any real product market fit. So the learning along the way, the lesson was first idea might not be right, but it might lead you to a better idea. So the first idea we had was not to do this. It wasn't to help people sell more directly to homeowners. It was a different product. It was understand them more and filter out the bad homeowners. Actually, the whole idea was hey, we're not going to, we'll help you avoid the Karens of the world. And we actually built that product. And it took 6 months, and I did raise money for that. I've raised $1 million predicated on that idea. And we built it in 6 months, and nobody wanted it. And in fact, the other thing I learned was the pain or the cost to a potential customer of you to tell you they like your idea when they don't is zero. So if you're going to go out and start building something just predicated on people saying that's a cool idea, but nobody's willing to have given you even $1 yet, you haven't proved nothing. You've proved absolutely nothing. So built this product, 6 months, raised this money, I'm sitting on it. I'm like, nobody wants this. So I had almost all of it. We built an MVP product for about 90 grand, right? So for of that money, we had most of it. And at that point, it was either send the money back or keep going. And all of that money was from my network. It was just angels. And so having raised from angels, their investment was always the same. Every single conversation was the biggest compliment and the most terrifying conversation I've ever had in my life, which is, I don't really know about this idea, but I'm willing to invest in you.
I mean, people typically invest in the horses.
Yeah, that's what they said. They're like, hey, you helped generate $1 billion worth of enterprise value for these other 3 companies. A lot of them had made a ton of money in those companies. That's why they were on the phone with me. And I'd worked with them and they're like, cool. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I'm sure you'll figure something else if it's not. So just, here's some money.
Interesting.
And so when I had that money and I had this product that nobody wanted, and I said, do you want me to just give you back the money? Sorry, it's going to be a 10% loss, but it's better than all of it. And they said the same thing. They're like, no, just keep going. You're fine. I'm sure what's your next idea? I was like, well, we learned along the way that we're not addressing the problem from the right side. We're helping you say no. We need to help them say yes to more people. Cool. Hey, now we're in our wheelhouse. Now our background, our skill set, like I talked about, matters a lot. And how do we do outbound sales? And how we build high velocity sales engines for these people? And so, yes, we raised money. We tried to give it back. They wouldn't let us. And it took a year because we spent 6 months being wrong. Then we got the right idea. And within 6 months, we started signing customers.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Starting to interview more and more people is you have an initial idea, um, it's wrong. You pivot. I mean, you go back to Instagram, how they started as something completely different and then ended up, being what they are. But
Mhm.
it's the intention of trying to go solve a problem in a space. You may be wrong. What you're talking with is, people will tell you it's a good idea and not spend a dollar. There's so many features that we've had so many of our customers say that they wanted, and then you put any type of price tag on it, or we just look at the adoption through, we'll put a huge go to market, let people know this great new feature that we have. Doesn't even get used. Like the usage of it is so incredibly low, but people shouted from the rooftops that we needed to do this thing, or this is a reason why they left. And then it wasn't. You're just like, sometimes you're just baffled. I'm like, I just spent, 4 sprints of development time to push through this thing that people were saying would be revolutionary to helping them stay on batch leads, and no one's adopting it. I'm like, and there's a big go to market around it. I'm just sometimes, and then it's like the littlest thing that we do that make it's people or customers are nuts. And sometimes you just never know. It goes back to like Alex Ramosi is talking about, the stuff going viral versus not, and like the assumptions that he would make. And he's like, at the end of the day, it's just, you want to be intentional with what you're doing and strategic, but it's volume always wins. And I don't think you could also do volume and, building out your product roadmap. So that's probably not the best example, but it's just the thing that I got that from. It's so surprising with some of the things you think are going to be huge to your customer base aren't. And some of the little things that's almost like a throwaway that you don't think is a big deal really means a lot to a ton of people and excites them. So very, very interesting stuff. And then when it comes to, I guess, the side of raising money, we didn't raise money, so we are completely bootstrapped, and there's benefits and drawbacks to that. I think the benefits are I like not being told what to do ever, which is nice. I also, what I don't like is some of those relationships from when people do raise money, and this is the question I'm kind of asking in a backwards way, is were you strategic with the people that you raised to where you were able to get long-term relationships, or the exit 3, 4, 5 years down the road, knowing that, hey, I want certain people to invest in the company or be on my advisory board, or both, to where because some people just go raise from friends and family, and there's no strategic thing besides just having the cash. So I guess, were you strategic when you went and did this? What I've heard so far is most people have kind of handpicked people that they've wanted to invest in them for down the road relationships or doors that would open.
A little bit. So the people I went to, I had some relationship with already. So, we didn't raise a ton of money. It was a pre-seed round. It was just over 7 figures. And we took tiny, tiny checks from like my sister and like someone's uncle. Like it was like, there were some really tiny checks, but the majority of it, like 90+% of it, was from larger checks that were people who I had relationships with that I had built over several years, usually through success at those other stops along the way. And they had been the direct beneficiaries as investors in those businesses. And so I built a relationship with them and said, well, if I ever want to go start a business, it would be good to have people who, one, already do this kind of thing, right? Like, how do you, like, they have proven they are the type of people who invest early in businesses because they did it in the businesses I was a part of, even though I didn't found them. And then they had benefited greatly, and I had been part of that success, having built the revenue engines. And so they were basically, I had street cred with them. It's not a huge, it's like, you're not famous. You can't just say like, I'm going to roll down Sand Hill or whatever in San Francisco and get Sequoia. I don't know those people, but those people I did know had a big enough war chest individually where they could come in and say, yes, I can give you 100 or 200,000, whatever the numbers were. And that moves the needle. Like, those people move the needle. And they also signal to other people, hey, these are smart investors. They've done really well in other places, and they will usually be able to connect you maybe to 1 degree further into their network. And that happened too, right? So if you're the type of person who writes checks, you probably know some other people who do too. So that was part of like the strategy, or just the luck of where I found myself, was having relationships from those other runs with those types of people.
And then one of the questions that I like to ask is, and I'm interviewing people in very different spots of their SaaS journey. So this is like fun. So I rephrase this question a few ways is, I like to ask, how have you built out your executive team? But let's say if you haven't really built out executive team, I know that, you have 200 customers, I don't know exactly, I'll ask where your revenue is at, but if you have built out your executive team or part of it, what's your strategy behind that? Or if you have not, what is your strategy going into that? Because I've learned way too many lessons the hard way of on sales and marketing as we've hit different clips of revenue targets. I've actually had to recycle through some of those executives, because someone to get you from 0 to 2 million is a very different person that's going to get you from 2 to 10 and from 10 to 30. And the biggest lesson I learned along that is, giving titles probably that shouldn't be given early in a company's business. And the next thing is creating an expectation to be like, hey, you're here to get us from here to here, but then we're going to have to bring you a mentor of someone who's experienced to get from here to here. And I would love for you to stay and learn from this brilliant person. And so they still have an opportunity, but if you just bring in someone on top of them, they're automatically going to leave if you don't frame it properly or understand. I just didn't know what I didn't know when I was building the company the first time. So I didn't know I needed to do that. But moving forward, if I were to do this again, or if, we needed to get to 100 million with our current, executive staff, they may not be the people to get us there because they haven't experienced it yet. So that's kind of like my little 2 cents on building out the executive team, or kind of lessons learned. Where are you at in that journey, and what's your plan as you build your team out long term?
So I haven't built out an executive team here yet. We don't need to yet. But I have me, and then I have a COO who's an early partner in the business, has been here since day one. And CTO, also early partner, has been here since day one. These are like the founding team, basically. But what I would say is I've been in that seat where you go from, hey, we don't really have an executive team, can you grow into it? I went from account executive to a VP of sales at the same company, right? So I grew from 10 employees to in the company to 500 employees in the company, and I had a sales team with, I think there was 126 people, as big as it got, right? So I experienced that growth through that. And I didn't want to get topped. I was always on this mission, like no one's ever going to come in above me. I'll just keep growing forever. And to be able to go from 1 to 30 million in revenue is pretty rare. Actually, most people are like that 0 to 1 or 1 to 5 or 5 to 10.
Yeah, I was going to say you're I would say more of the exception. And there's a reason why you founded your SaaS company now than the rule, because a lot of the time people can't do what you've done through these companies. So these companies, to have you able to grow with the organization and still make those strategic decisions to grow, that's a huge kudos to you. Because I have talked to a lot of people, I don't see that very often with people. So it shows the level of talent that you have. To be completely honest with you, I don't see that very often or hear from that very often.
I appreciate that. I think where I'm, if unique, whatever it is, I can go from frontline execution to leadership and kind of more strategy stuff fairly fluidly. And so early you need doers, and then later you need reviewers. And so someone who can kind of flex a little bit, maybe they're not the best doer ever, maybe they're not the most strategic person ever, but they'll take you pretty far. From 1 to 50 million is pretty far. What I'm looking for when I think about that is, don't overtitle people. It's hard to take them back. You just hurt people's feelings. Set good expectations. Understand if they're a lifer or if they're a tour duty type of person. The way you could do that is, what are they trying to get to? One of the things as I went through those 3 companies is I was always on this mission to be the top of the top. I thought CRO would be the final end point for me. It ended up being CEO. And I was like, I'm going to get to that. I was on a mission. I'd set that goal for years. I'm going to become a CRO and be the highest evolution of revenue leadership. And so the problem was going for, why didn't you just stay at 1 and go all the way to the end? I'm like, well, we were growing really, really fast. Eventually they're going to want to top you. But really the problem was mission alignment. My mission to become a CRO didn't really align with that company's mission, because they didn't care about my desire to become a CRO. They cared about hitting whatever metrics they had. Now, when you're early, and I was an account executive trying to become a VP first, those missions align pretty well, because my ability to help them grow and then my ability to become a VP were kind of doing it at the same time. But once we veered off in different goals, then I had to go find another place where my mission and their mission were aligned again. And so figuring out those people for those at executive levels at each stage, it's to me is there alignment with what I'm trying to get to and what their mission is? Like I have helped get about half a dozen people, 10, I think, actually like almost 10, so almost a dozen to VP or director, a lot of VPs who have worked in organizations that I've led. And like I could tell really quickly is they're on a mission here. I can help them get to that next stage. I can help them get to VP because that's what they want to do. And they're talented enough to do it. If I can help push them in that direction, that's a good hire. If that person's goal is to get something that they're never going to, I can't help them do, or they're going to age out of this thing because they want to be the CEO someday. I'm like, okay, well, you're never going to be the CEO here because that's my job. So I can help you get where you want to go if I know what it is and it aligns to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's truly great advice because I feel like too often people don't ask what someone's goal is long term. And I weirdly watched something from Dan Martell just the other day of that's something that he harps on pretty good, is like making sure that you understand where is this person trying to get to, and are they trying to be with me long term or short term? What do their goals align with mine? And he's like, people should be doing that more before they even hire some of these high level people. It's like, are they going to be there for 1 year? Are you going to have the opportunity for them to get to where they want to in 3 years? And if they're not, it's kind of a decision that you both have to make. Is this kind of like the short term thing, or are you going to ride or die with me till we exit type of thing? And I think you really nailed it on the head of being aligned with your team and asking those questions and making sure that not everyone wants to be me or you either. Someone could be an incredible AE or manager director, and that's their end game, or that's where they want to get to and be great at. There's nothing wrong with that because you need those people too. So it's just very interesting I like kind of how you framed it. And I think that's good advice to give for people that are starting out their business.
Yeah, the alignment is like super, super important. When I've seen, 3 runs that were all various types of successful. One is now at $100 million, probably going to go public or get PE bought out at some point pretty soon. One of them is we got hyper growthed up and raised $50 million. But the best of them all, actually, for me, like from experience wise, was the one where we had perfect alignment. The executive team, everybody was on the same page, same mission. They said, come join this company and we are going to have an exit in 2 years. It's like, okay, our goal is to do a 2-year all out sprint for an exit. And we about 10x the value of the business in those 2 years. And we're talking hundreds of millions of exit value now, because every single person knew that we were all trying to do the same thing. That boat was rowing in one direction. And it was way more fun, by the way, than the other runs where one person's running off and like, we're going to create a $20 billion company. And then somebody else is like, I'd be cool if we just had a lifestyle business forever. I'm like, those are different things. They cannot exist together. And it was like miserable to be like trying to make decisions with trying to serve both of those outcomes, which was impossible. But everyone's like, no, 2 years, sell it. Everybody gets a big check like that. And if the lifestyle business is the goal, like cool, but everybody has to be like, we're doing the lifestyle business.
Yeah, if you're doing a lifestyle business, you just have to pay your employees a crap ton of money and give them probably profitability bonuses for your high-end people. And they're going to go push, because if they're profit sharing to some degree on profits, like you structure different businesses in different ways. You're trying to sell, here's some equity. Lifestyle business, if you want good executives or good leadership, they need to be profit sharing. If they're able to grow a bunch of revenue, keep costs down, and make you a bunch of money, you better be willing to be stroking huge bonus checks to people like that, because that's the difference. They're not getting that big exit. Their big exit is every quarter, or every half year, or every year. Like that's theirs. If you want highly talented people, those are basically your 2 options, to be honest with you. I've learned that if I were to go create a lifestyle business, I'd make sure that they're profit sharing. One, then they're going to really give a shit on hiring new employees, on the expenses, on the vendors that we're using. Like they're going to be mini owners to some degree. And if they start thinking that way for you, if you more want to be like a board, or, you know what I mean? Let's say me, Andy, and even my 2 partners wanted to make it more of a lifestyle business. That's exactly how we go about doing it, is having them own the P&L with us, having them care about the profits, and like, hey, if revenue is going up, but you're hiring so many employees, we're not making more money on the bottom line, then that's not a lifestyle business. That's a growth business to exit. So I think you said it perfectly. But okay, next topic. We have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of good banter going on. And with you raising money, I guess, let me kind of get through the whole question, but do you plan on raising more? And I guess my question is, are you profitable or at a burn right now? So obviously I'm a bootstrap company, so profitability versus growth has always been this line that we've really had to juggle because we didn't raise any money. Everything is, me, Annie, and Evo's money. So we kind of have an EBITDA number we want to get to. Anything above that could be, and then we'll go burn that money up. We have a certain EBITDA number that we want to get to. Everything else is put in growth. It could be employees, it could be a new vendor, it could be new whatever. But it took us a while to get there to where it's just like we were printing money, but like we wanted to grow because eventually we do want to have some type of exit or partnership or strategic thing. So for us, it's been interesting figuring out, okay, what do we need to take home? What do we expect to take home? If we do a little bit better, maybe we could take a few dividends if we're really crushing it on the profitability side. But most of that money is going back into trying to fuel growth through marketing, sales guys, or just adding on vendors to become, more efficient. That's kind of where we're at today. Where do you sit? And I guess, what are some of your ultimate goals long term?
Yeah, so we are on a burn because we're trying to grow as fast as we can, but we're also not, a huge fundraising from East Coast VCs, right? Like we raised barely $1 million to get this thing all going and up and running. So you're not burning a ton of money, right? So what our thought around that is the market is or investors much more interested right now in this concept of more efficient growth. And what does that actually mean though? It can be debatable. Some people would say, well, are you profitable the whole time? That's one way to look at it. The other way you can see efficient growth though is what can you get to in growth at what type of invested capital, right? So that's how we are generally looking at it is, hey, if we're able to generate, $10 million of recurring revenue with $1 million of investment, that's a 10 times return on the invested capital in just recurring revenue. And if you do it really, really quickly as a growth business, what's the enterprise value of that business? You're probably like 100xing the invested capital and the value of the entity. And therefore, what's the percentage owned there? So we basically need to show very efficient added revenue, even compared to what we burn to get there. That's how we generally are measuring it or how we're thinking about it, not a net profit. But if you're doing that, then you kind of always have the ability to get to a profit if you just decided to slow down. Everyone's like, well, if we could be profitable if we just slow down growing. Yes, if you have very efficient growth, because that means you're not constantly having to pour a ton of money in to keep growing, which means you probably have a big problem.
Yeah. Yeah, we always kind of had to find that balance because we fell ass backwards into SaaS. Like when I started it, I didn't know what an AM or an AE meant. Like I literally had no idea I knew nothing about. I was a real estate investor making a bunch of money over there and found a problem to solve. And I had to listen and read to a lot quickly. We were just lucky that we had a perfect product market fit at the perfect time and money solved all of our problems. And we were able to hire a good CTO and head of product. That was like crucial for us, but we made huge mistakes on the sales, CS and marketing side. Is we were hiring people that weren't going to get us. They were more of like the hustler type of marketer to where they were not sophisticated in SaaS and funnels to the degree that we are today. So those were some learning lessons. But at the same time, if you have a great product at the right time, you don't even need any of that stuff during that time because it just goes viral in your industry and everyone's talking about it. The word of mouth and the affiliates. I went and got the biggest affiliates in the real estate investing space that were friends with me that grew to become some of the biggest influencers in the space, and they loved and used our product. So we just went from 0 to 1,000 super quickly. And that was during the COVID time when real estate was booming. Everyone was sitting at home. So I think we had a great idea we also had really lucky on our timing, but we were smart enough to pour so much money into developing the product, because at that time we still had our real estate investing business. So we're still making a bunch of money over here, making so much money over there on the new SaaS product, that we just kept pouring it into growing our product line to what it is today. And then we kind of, as I said, had to learn along the way, because I did not have any of the type of experience that you had. You know what I mean? I was just like, I don't know, like,
we spend most of our money on R&D. So like most of the, like
Same.
When you think about, you could be profitable tomorrow, I'm like, well, yeah, if we weren't spending 60, 70% of every dollar that we spend is on product and development, because to your point, like that's your value to the world, is what you build. Like being awesome at being an awesome sales team and an awesome marketing team to help people find and discover a product that they don't want is a really big waste of money. And so if you are investing in solving the problems, we're a software company, software is how you solve those problems. And so that's where all the money goes. It's also the moat of your business, because someone can rip off your pricing. They can try and, rip off your branding. They can rip off your messaging. But if you have a better product than them, then it's going to be really hard for them to beat you at the end of the day. And so that gives a lot of durability to your business. Whereas sales and marketing can accentuate like that benefit or that strategic advantage. But I've built really, really, really effective sales teams. Like I would brag to our sales team, like, listen, we could give our product to our competitor and we would still beat them, because we are that much better than them.
That makes sense.
And I believe it, like 100%. And I used to say, like, the product's not as important, but now that I'm sitting in this chair, I'm like, the value of being able to do that is on top of having a good solution to a problem. It will not solve the problem for the customer. And that's ultimately a durable business. It's a efficient growth model is, hire more salespeople, because people want what we have.
Yeah. And remind me, this just like came to a thought, remind me after we get done with our podcast here. I'm super friendly with the CEO of A1 Garage Doors. There could be some synergies there. And he has obviously probably know who he is. Tommy Mello has one of the biggest garage door companies in America now.
I've texted with him once before, because my advisor, Strickland Tudor, knows him pretty well, but we haven't actually connected.
Yeah. You need to go a different route. He's so busy now. Like, I'm a friend of his, and I reached out to him. He thought his business. He had his assistant schedule a time for me to have a call with him. And I was like, bro, I just wanted to chat and see how you're doing.
He's super busy. He spends most of his time now doing like speaking events around the country. Yep. And so I do believe getting him to just basically check the box that he's like, I'm not going to say no to this thing, but here's my people. They'll go say yes to it.
I think it's Rick Sharp. I shouldn't even be talking about this. We'll talk about it off. I know the people, but I always love to connect people, to where, because this could be a huge enterprise account for you potentially if you could sell them on it. And you said you're good at sales, so let's see how good you really are.
There you go.
All right, next question.
You like climbing mountains? Here's a big one.
But it could be a huge account. I think you alluded to this, but maybe give me a different example. Share a moment when something felt like a failure in your business and it ended up being really pushing your business in a different direction. It sounds like your first 6 months was kind of that. Do you have any other examples since you started Glasshouse of something that you just felt like was a massive failure, but you're like, and then it turned to push you in a direction of like, oh yeah, this is good stuff here.
Yes. It is that starting is the best example. Let's just talk about that. That's the real example. There's nothing more than that here. There's other things that are small, like, we brought in a fractional marketer and he was talked about the vibes all the time. We're like, that's fine, whatever. But those are small things. The big thing was, taking $1 million from people I knew to invest in the business for an idea that ended up being not the right idea. And having put my name on that, it was a super big, painful thing. It was borderline depressive. It was so miserable to oh my gosh, what have I done? And I'm wasting these people's money and my life and all this stuff. And you have every negative thought in your head you're ever going to have. And so how that ended up being the good thing is, but at least it got me going into the right direction. I would not be here if I had not gone through that. It's impossible. I would not have just stumbled into this problem that we could solve. And would not have figured out where we really wanted to go if I hadn't done that other thing first. I don't know this space. So this doesn't exist in the world today if it didn't start in the wrong place. And there's something that I've been thinking about when we've been talking that, like, I want to give some advice to the world. It's like, because I've heard this from people, like, don't build it, get people to pay you first. I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm smart, I'll figure it out, we'll just build it. But the real honest truth is it's really actually decent advice if you're willing to at least like take some risks, but do the work and validate this stuff, right? So like what we did was, when I realized that the product wasn't the right solution to the real problem, it was like, I think this is the real problem. Now at that moment it was, do you want to give the money back or do other stuff, or do you want to keep going? And people were like, keep going. So I looked across the room at the CTO and COO, who's an investor in the company too, by the way. And he was like, I said, do y'all want to keep going or do you want to stop? And they were like, let's keep going. I said, I think I found the real problem, but I can't prove it. And we don't have enough time to validate it 100%. We have to start going in this direction right now, but we can do it a better way. We don't just build the whole product and say, here you go. So I did like the startup hackiest thing we could do. Is like, we just did a Figma mockup like they tell you. And the problem with that though, is everyone says, just do a Figma mockup. It's like, people don't want to buy a Figma mockup. They want to buy a real product. Right? Like everyone knows it's not a real product. It says Figma on it. Like everyone knows what they're looking at. And so we did that, but I did still have a way to solve the problem a little bit. Because what we do is we help people get in touch with homeowners directly and message them. And like, we help you drive revenue directly to your home service business without waiting for the phone to ring, basically. Right?
Right.
And so I said, well, here's a beautiful example of what that would look like. Here's a map and it's so gorgeous. And here's all this stuff. And I'd show it to somebody like, can I buy that? I'm like, yes, kind of. You have to pay me anything, like $90. I don't even care. You have to pay me something, but until this exists, just go fill out this form. Tell me the neighborhoods you're looking to get in touch with, and we will help you with their information, and we'll build a message for them, and then we'll like, you can text them and email them, like, but we'll have to do it. Like basically, we will just physically do this thing if you go fill out a Google form. But that's you have to pay me for that.
Something.
And so we got like 10 people to sign up and do that while we built the version of the thing. We didn't like wait around. We started building it, but while we were doing that, we're getting the feedback. We're proving this is a real thing so that we feel like we are in fact going in the right direction. And so back to your question, like biggest learning was like the first time we did this, we just took that sounds cool as enough evidence. That's absolutely not enough evidence. And that was the big learning along the way. That was like, oh, yeah, go back and do this better. I would have done it a different way, but the learning, at least the painful part of getting here was at least now we're in the right place.
And then, let's hop into one of my favorite topics that I also like to bring up every podcast episode is, what do you think, if you're going to say AI, be like kind of a little bit more specific, but what do you think are going to be, 1 to 3 really disruptive, technology trends that we're going to be seeing in the PropTech space, over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years? And what are you doing in your business to position to take advantage of these opportunities with, the AI revolution?
So I think about AI a decent amount. There's a lot of conversation about it, and it certainly has a place in tech. It is tech, and we are in tech, so it's not like you're not going to say it has a place in your business. But I think actually the way that this is going to play out is not that AI is going to replace everyone's like jobs, or like that's not really how humans work. I want, like someone says you can have way less employees. I'm like, I like having employees. I measure somebody, we talked about this the other day, like how are we going to measure success? My team members like ARR in this way. I said, Jimmy, how do you measure success? I was like, how many college educations are we helping pay for? How many vacations get taken? How many dinners get put on plates? And like if we can do that, then all the outcomes are going to be good. I just know that. And so I'm not trying to hire less people. I'm trying to hire more people because they can come work here. It's awesome. And I like people and I want to be around them. I like talking to people, not to computers.
Same.
So I think that when you look at that technology trend, it's how are these trends allowing us to deliver products that are better, faster, and cheaper so that we can charge less for them and still have the same margin, right? So most SaaS businesses don't make money. If they're growth stories, They're all about burning money to grow this pot of money so that someday in the future, hand wavy, they'll make money. But most of them don't.
Right.
So how is this stuff actually going to help us operate our businesses better versus how do we put it into our software so that our customers are the beneficiary of the AI it's invariably coming into all of our software. I don't think the end user is all obsessed with the AI. I think if I could go to my customers right now and say, we're going to make the software 50% better and 50% cheaper, or we can give you an AI that does this little thing over here that maybe saves you a couple of minutes every day. They would take 50% faster and 50% cheaper every single time, which means I need that technology, that AI, to help me build software 50% cheaper so I can charge less and make it work 50% better so that they feel the outcome of that experience and for less money. They're going to be super happy about that.
Yeah. So where I think, and it doesn't necessarily need to be AI, but what's just going to be disruptive to, PropTech space, I really believe in where the batch data side of our business or the B2B side of our business that help fuel other software companies in PropTech, we're really leaning into LLM models and machine learning to where, like let's say, for example, for your business, we've already created this product for batch leads, but it's to, give our customers, so this goes back to your efficiency and making stuff simpler for people, is we have a model going on right now that we've had for about a year of what's the most likely to sell homes in areas that our investors or wholesalers are looking to purchase homes in. So we literally have a button that they could click and say, and then we're about 90% accurate. I don't know if it's a fixer upper. I don't know if it should go on the MLS. So it could be for an agent. It could be for an investor. But what I can tell you is this home is likely to sell in the next 90 days. You should go talk to this person. And that has been a huge new feature that has made it much easier, especially for the people that are just getting started. They love knowing that, hey, there's data behind this. I'm going to reach out to these people because this is something that works. Now, the better you get and more sophisticated you get, you're going to be able to use your own data inside being an investor and saying, hey, the code violations and tax default along with a vacant home, these are going to be the most likely to sell people of all the transactions and people that I've talked to. Let's outreach them, and then maybe I'm still using this batch ring. But like let's say for home service, in my head is how can I, help you or help someone like you or something that you could create, but like, how can I create something for the home service people being like, here's the most likely person that's going to need a garage door or, something, so on and so forth. Pick any AC, any home service, because we have all these data sets and all these permits and all these things. But like, I think back to my point is I think like that's where people are really going to win is creating our own proprietary models built on a bunch of different data sets to solve problems for niche industries. And then at the same time, very friendly APIs for people to ingest this into, let's say, their CRM or their whatever type of sales tool that their teams are using, let's say like a Glasshouse or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's where I really think that we are focused on, one, to help our customers, but like for us to help someone like a Glasshouse or like A1 or Investor Lift, a bunch of different people that we work with to some degrees, like how can we help on a data side help solve problems for our customers that are their customers, and that's kind of like what we're looking into for like our future of the evolution of batch data, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think that for home services, where we generally live, but PropTech in general, I think one of the trends that you'll see is the integratability of data, not just of systems automations, is kind of behind here a little bit compared to other industries. And mm-hmm. a lot of these businesses, they sit on a lot of information about their existing customer base, and they think it's a lot. And it's not actually. Like I talked to a very big HVAC PE-backed roll-up recently. And they said, well, we have 80,000 customer records in our CRM or FSM, whatever you want to call it. And they were like, that's a lot. I'm like, it's really not that much, actually. And they're like, what do you mean? That's 80,000. I'm like, well, there's like 160 million houses. So you really don't have that much, actually. And Correct. So even these bigger players think they have a lot of data, but being able to network that together, connect that, create interoperability between systems that have generally all just been little tiny silos. Like Service Titan has 5% of the 10% of the market. That's still nothing, right? And it's just in a couple of subverticals. Connecting big data sets, that's where ML, like we use machine learning in our system to look across all this data. And then how do you create or drive some value from it where, we're not selling software to data scientists. There are 0 data scientists running around in my customers, like not a single one, I promise you that. So how do we basically lend them that capability by saying, hey, we're going to aggregate all this information. We're going to create insights on top of it that are just baked into what you're doing because we're able to connect things that are usually probably beyond what most property, based businesses like home service businesses are really going to do on their own.
Yeah. And I just really believe that, especially for like us on batch data, big data is becoming a commodity, just the data sets alone to some degree, or just the phone numbers and just all the things. And on our end, it's how can we create stuff that's proprietary that we're building, great new products that are derivatives of big data. It's exactly what you're saying to some degree. Is like, how do we create insights to make people's job that much easier, or really just saying, understanding someone's, let's use you as an example, home service. Like you're trying to understand, what type of person they're going after, and then it's your job to figure out to give them the best insights to get there as fast as possible. Like that's what's going to create a ton of value for your customers. And now we're able to use LLM modeling and machine learning and all these different new tools and all these AI as AI advances. It's going to be really cool with how people create different ways to look at things and the ECUs. I just think the customers that you're going to be serving and the way that you think, you're going to give them just incredible ways to be successful with their businesses. And that means they'll stay with you for a long time and continue to spend more money.
Yep. I hope so. That's the plan.
Is there any other kind of ideas that you have just around PropTech that you think will really disrupt it? It doesn't have to be AI and AI side of things. Is there anything that you think could just be disruptive to the property technology space over the next couple of years?
I probably don't have enough insight across the whole property tech. We focus really on the sales side. What I am seeing and why we're here is that the property tech, home services tech, like home tech is like from a sales perspective, it's very inbound demand generation focused. So there's quite a bit of technology based or predicated on Google ads and things like that. And there's a big ecosystem of marketing agencies that kind of like live between a company and Google. And I think what you'll generally start to see is platforms that the end user can use to directly interface with those systems and kind of circumvent some of that like service layer a little bit, which is a very big tax on those businesses. I think you're going to see that happening over the next couple of years. I also think that what we're doing in terms of helping people do more direct to consumer targeting and not have to be so reliant on these ad platforms, which have basically created a monopolistic tax on property. They're basically taxing everybody to connect you and your plumber, where if your plumber could connect directly with you. I've seen a lot of community-based things that are out there right now, like companies who are trying to build localized connectors, like kind of basically a modern Angie list. And so I think you're going to see more kind of connective tissue between the consumer and the business with less intermediaries playing in between. That's my thesis.
That is an answer that I was looking for. I was trying to get outside of just focusing on, the AI revolution. And I can agree more is it's getting more and more expensive. So like I play in the realtor and investor space, and Google and Facebook, they're squeezing every dollar to where it's going to be so hard to be profitable in the future with getting these inbound leads. Is how can you connect, someone that wants to, buy a rundown property with the homeowner and, the community-based things that you're talking about. And having great insights and tools to go outbound. And that's something that Batch Leads has, is we give people great insights to go direct to the homeowner and try and purchase, their home or list their home or whatever. And I think that's definitely the play, is because it's just going to get more and more and more saturated and expensive using the Googles, the Facebooks, the Reddits, all those.
Let me blow your mind with a piece of data, Jesse. So I talk to home service businesses all day, every day. And so learning the space, and now I'm a home service business, is like 5-10 years ago, if you're a pest control company or any home service, you could put $1 into one of these lead aggregation tools. So let's just say Google. You put $1 in, and it would spit $7 back. So at that point, your business is, how fast can I put dollars in?
You're printing money. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like, cool. Every dollar I can put in, it spits $7 back. How let's borrow dollars. Let's get all the dollars we can. And then your only problem is, can I hire people fast enough to service? That was your biggest problem. And what happens when that math is put $1 in, get $3 back or $2 back?
And then you have all these operational costs on top of it. Now
and what's your margin on this business? Like 20%? Yeah. Well, then it's not, I'm losing money to service these leads.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the problem we have so many people have entered these markets in direct home services and things like that. And there's so many more players, and Google has found a way to extract every penny out. That's capitalism. That's what it does. And so how are we going to address that as an industry? Is we have to be able to find ways to get directly to the consumer without paying the tax man for the privilege.
I couldn't agree more. And before we wrap this up, the last question I do like to ask is kind of two questions. But first, how would someone get a hold of Jimmy? Where do you live? You live in LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Where do you live? Where does your company live? If someone's interested in, looking into your amazing product, or just wants to kind of pick your brain because you're obviously very brilliant and you've done and had an incredible, software career as well. How would someone get a hold of you?
Easiest way to get a hold of me would be to come to my business and reach out, because I see all of that. Early enough, I'm watching every single thing that comes through. But glasshouse.biz, I'm Jimmy at glasshouse.biz. My only social is LinkedIn. I don't do any other social media. I just don't find it interesting to me, but I do pay attention to my LinkedIn, and people message me, I respond. So those are the easiest ways to find me, generally speaking, or reach out. And where do you live? I live in Nashville. So if you're in Nashville, let me know.
Awesome. And lastly, and this could be someone on any part of their, SaaS journey as a founder, but what's advice that you would give to a SaaS founder? They could be just getting started, they could be growing, they could be super seasoned, but what advice, would you give to someone listening to this podcast?
You have to find the people to go on this journey with really fast that want the same thing you do and believe in the same things you do. There can be absolutely zero compromise on what your philosophy for life, work, integration, or balance, or however you think about it. I believe in life, work, integration. Some people are into like the balance of keeping them separate, whatever. It doesn't even matter who's right, but they have to believe the same thing you do. If there is one tiny little gap between what you believe and the people that you initially put around you to do this, then it will not work, because this will be 10 times harder than you could possibly imagine. It'll be 1,000 times more rewarding at the end than you thought it would be. But if you will never get there, if when it does get hard, your belief system and the people you're with you's belief system does not match 100%.
That is some incredible advice. Well, everybody, thank you again for joining another episode of the Real SaaS Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Burrell. And until next time, let's get it.